Tripels. These are Belgian tripels or Belgian style tripels because not all of them are from Belgium. I've had these in the fridge for quite a long time. The Westmalle almost 1.5 years, I think. I need more space in the fridge and I'm really curious on these beers. So the Westmalle is the original Tripel, the first one maybe, and is considered by many the best Tripel in the world. And the Tripel Karmeliet or Karmeliet, I don't know too much about. I think it's brewed using champagne yeast or something like that, white wine yeast. The La Trappe is from the Netherlands, one of the few Trappist orders outside of Belgium. Vreta Kloster brewery is a fairly new brewery, but they have risen to fame in Sweden for making really good, authentic Belgian-styled beers. So let's start with the Westmalle. It has been out of the fridge for a little more than an hour, so it should be perfect. Now the story of triples, I'm not entirely sure, and there are a few different theories or stories, but one of them is that you marked the barrels depending on how strong they were, how much alcohol was in them. So the regular ales got one line or whatever you call that, or however they marked it. Maybe they marked it with crosses. They made a stronger beer called a double, and then they marked it twice. And then this beer even stronger, 3 times, so therefore a triple. The triples are also always blonde beers. The doubles are dark, and the even stronger beers, quads or quadruples, which is a newer invention, they are darker beers. So I thought this was a good beer to start with because you compare so much of the Belgian triples to the Westmalle. So I don't think I've had this for, could it be 2 years? Before I really got into craft beer. But let's have a first impression here. So it has similarities to the German wheat beers, the Hefeweizens, which I am more familiar with. I think they use a similar yeast, so you have a bit of banana candy. It's not really cloves, maybe. It's not as sharp as it can be in the German wheat beers. More like some sort of jam made from berries. A little bit of that meaty aroma. I think you call it savory, but I'm not sure. It's like in the German wheat beers, I often get salami, and this is more like some kind of sausage or ham that hasn't been smoked in the same way. I think we'll open them all up before we taste them, so we can see them side by side first. Isn't this glass just amazing? This was actually one of the reasons I chose this beer. The beer was available. The glass was available. Ooh. Different aroma. More sparkling. Almost like, Sprite or something like that. The head is huge. I guess it's more heavily carbonated, maybe? I think we can open the next one while we wait. So, La Trappe, Belgian beer. I think I've tasted their regular blonde ale and liked it. And also their Doppelbock, which was kindly sent to me from Thierry in the Netherlands. So you can already see the Westmalle is kind of hazy, especially compared to the La Trappe, which seems to be perfectly clear. Heavily carbonated, this one as well, it seems. I didn't get any new wave of aromas from the La Trappe in the same way as the Karmeliet, where I felt immediately, whew, this is something different. Almost there. Woohoo! Of course, if you really want to feel the aroma and the flavors, maybe you should use smaller glasses, more like brandy glasses, and don't fill it up, you know. When it's completely filled and you have all this foam, it's harder to get the aromas, but it just looks so nice, right? That was the last bit of the La Trappe at least. Can we get the first impression? Maybe this was closest to a Hefeweizen, the German wheat beer. Here I got a little more of the sharper cloves note, but not as much banana as the Westmalle. From the first impression, at least. Okay, come on. Ooh, this is lively. But there is so much foam, I don't know if I can get any aroma. It's perfumey. I know this aroma from somewhere. Maybe it's because I know, or I think I know, it's made out of some sort of champagne yeast. But I do notice a white grape aroma, sweet white grapes. But it is also a bit of that Sprite feeling. But also sweet banana, that savory note. But yeah, maybe the most lemon citrus note so far. Yeah, definitely. So this might be the most refreshing one. Alright, the Swedish one. Vreta Kloster isn't a monastery anymore, but it was the first one in Sweden. And when the brewmaster started up the brewery, he took inspiration from the monastery, and it fitted perfectly, right? Because it's so inspired by Belgian Trappist ales. Okay, the least amount of carbonation in this one. The only one I could pour in one go. First impression. What is that smell? It's a little bit of gasoline, but not in an unpleasant way. Cherries. It's cherries. Yeah, like cherry marmalade candy, you know, sugar coated. This might be the sweetest aroma. Alright, let's sniff through them once more. Oh, what a difference in color. It's red, or orange red. Westmalle. Spring flowers. Or very sweet, expensive honey. I didn't get that the first time. Interesting. Could be the foam sinking down. Karmeliet. Yeah, back to the wheat beer again. More lemon and not as much flowers. I don't get much of that white grape aroma anymore. La Trappe. Maybe the most subdued of the aromas. Let me go back to Westmalle. Don't get much aroma. It's like the Karmeliet, but less. Yeah, almost no aroma. And Vreta Kloster. Cherries. So pretty different so far. So let's have a taste. Start with Westmalle. I know how to say cheers, kind of, in the Netherlands. And I think it's the same in Belgium, I hope. In that case, it's proost. Cheers, skål. I've talked about this many times before, that I am a bit sensitive about higher alcohol beers, but when the booziness is camouflaged this way, and you have a complexity, you have a sweetness, the beer is somewhat full-bodied and not watery, I can really enjoy them. It had a more spicy, bitter finish than I expected, and round and sweet in the beginning. Let's take another sip. It is actually more bitter than I remembered. Now this has been in the fridge for I think 1.5 years. I don't know how much impact that has had, but you usually hear it kind of mellows, but I don't know, can the hops be old? The bitterness is kind of overwhelming. It's spicy, herbal, you have some kind of sweetness there. If it's honey or sweet bread. I feel a little bit of the flowers when exhaling, but it's not exactly what I thought. Now bear in mind I'm pretty new to the style and I think I need to return to Westmalle after I've tried, 20 Belgian beers. But let's have a sip of water and move on to Karmeliet. I feel like this will be refreshing after the Westmalle. We'll see. Prost! It didn't have the bitterness. I've had this beer maybe half a year in the fridge. It's more close to wheat beer, German wheat beer, but the stronger one. You can feel the alcohol kicking in. There is a style called Weizenbock, I think, a stronger wheat beer, which I haven't explored, but I'm imagining it will taste something like this. The lemon note is dominating for me right now, but it has a bit of the banana and the cloves. This would be really interesting to compare side by side with German wheat beer, actually. It definitely has a boozy kick, and I'm noticing I have a hard time picking out the different components when the alcohol, I guess, is this high. I'm probably just not used to it, but the first thing I think is, whew, this is boozy, and then what? But at least more lemon, less bitterness than the Westmalle. Let's try the La Trappe. Have we gained any aroma? Not much. Smells like vodka or something, together with overripe berries or fruits. Maybe a sip of water. And let's dig in. Prost. This was pleasant. More of strawberries, wild strawberries. Not the same boozy kick in the taste. Also a more clear breadiness in this one. Or maybe I just couldn't focus on it, on the other two. But yeah, like freshly baked white bread. A little bit of bitterness in the end. Maybe somewhere in between the Karmeliet and the Westmalle. And not as much lemon again as the Karmeliet. I think I enjoy the aftertaste the most from La Trappe. It's lingering in a really nice way, but I can't quite describe it. Yeah, I think I really need to practice my Belgian ales. Vreta Kloster, skål. More bitter again. Not quite as bitter as this version of Westmalle, but definitely the second most bitter. But also flavors from different kind of berries. Cherries and plums maybe. So it's fruity in that way, but I wouldn't say it's sweet. It is pretty dry, and it dries out even more towards the end. I had to look that I bought the right bottle, because this reminds me more of the Dutch autumn box, the Herfstbox. But it is in fact a triple, and if I translate, Vreta Kloster Trippel is a somewhat more full-bodied and fruity version of a Belgian triple, and the finish have a bit of bitterness, while it, according to tradition, post-ferments in bottle. There can be some particles in the bottom, water, barley malt, sugar, hops and yeast. Yeah, so a fruitier triple. I don't know if there is a Belgian prototype or if this is something unique, but I like it. But I am sensitive to both booziness and high bitterness. So when it comes to high alcohol beers, I prefer the ones that are sweet and not so bitter, Let's see, was the Westmalle really that bitter? When I inhaled just before I took the sip, I felt the lovely spring flowers. I wish it was more of that, flowery, honey flavor in the actual beer. And I didn't find the bitterness as sharp this time. But maybe let me know in the comments if you have bought a new bottle of Westmalle, do you find it bitter? Let's taste the La Trappe after Westmalle. I still find the same fruity characters like berries as the Swedish one. So maybe these two are the most similar, although the colors don't really match. Karmeliet again. It could be, it probably is, me just being unexperienced with Belgian tripels. But every time I drink the Karmeliet, I go... This has the lowest amount of booziness. It's refreshing because of the lemon citrus notes. Let me just check. I know I've put the ABV up here for you, but I'm not sure. It is still 8.4% ABV, so it's stronger than La Trappe, but it feels like the least boozy of the four, and the least bitter, and the most refreshing. So this might actually be a good choice for a newbie like me to get into the stronger Belgian ales. Or I don't know, if you are from the UK and you're used to bitters, for instance, maybe this is yucky to you. Let me just taste them backwards one last time. Oh man, I can feel all the flavors in the Westmalle, but it's just overwhelming. I don't think I'm ready for it. So maybe it's because it's closest to a German wheat beer, with the low bitterness, the high lemon citrus notes, and the overall smoothness. But if I have to choose just one of these beers, surprisingly, I choose Tripel Karmeliet. Check out the video I talked about, the Dutch autumn box over here, and remember, drink responsibly.